Okay, so we're going to go over 3 key exercises for the foot that every runner should basically do at least at some point throughout the week, if not every day. So basically we're going to talk about intrinsic muscles of the foot. These are muscles that begin and end in the foot. These are not muscles that cross the ankle up into the calf and shin. So these muscles are within the foot themselves. So the interesting thing about the foot is it's made up of basically 4 layers. One of the layers is plantar fascia, which is, we all have heard about plantar fasciitis. The other 3 layers are intrinsic muscles of the foot. So just like I said, they begin and end in the foot. So it's critical for us if we have a history of plantar fasciitis, stress fractures, neuralgias, metatarsalgia, any sorts of issues within the foot itself as a runner, that we train those 3 layers of muscles, because then that'll take pressure off of the bone and the plantar fascia itself, so that when you land, the muscles absorb the shock and not necessarily the other structures. So basically, just like if I was standing there and I punched you in the arm and your muscles braced for it, it wouldn't hurt as much as if it would hit the bone, then it would hurt quite a bit more. So you want the muscles to take the shock on impact. So that's the basic idea. So to start, the first one that we like to do is going after the muscles called the lumbricals and interosseous muscles. And these are tiny little guys that run in between the bones here. So the best way to activate those is you're going to take your fingers and you're going to insert them in between each toe, just like this. And I like to go from under the foot this way. So basically the fingers are inserted, like the index finger is between 1 and 2, and then the pinky between the pinky and the 4th. And so basically, once you're here and you're kind of in there, it's going to be a little uncomfortable at first. But for 1 minute, you're going to go through what we call circumduction, which is basically just kind of like going in a circular motion while tugging and pulling at the joints in here. And so for me, when I pull the foot this way, I feel a great deal of stretch right there, which is really good because those structures really need to stretch that way because I got pretty bad hammer toes. So basically for 1 minute, I'm going to take and just really kind of force the foot through. It should be uncomfortable, but not necessarily painful. So be smart and find that balance. So again, for 1 minute, just kind of going through that. Once you've done that for a minute, keep the fingers there. Then you're going to do 20 squeezes where I'm going to take my toes and I'm going to squeeze them on my fingers. And you can see the whites of my fingers right there as I'm squeezing the toes. And so I'm just doing this with my toes. This motion with my toes is a completely different set of muscles versus that motion. So the squeezing, doing that 20 times. Next, you'll do 20 sets or 20 reps of flexing the toes down or pulling the toes this way, mimicking push-off, which is a completely separate set of muscles versus the squeeze. So again, we've already addressed multiple different layers of the foot already. So again, I'm now pulling down this way. 20 reps of this one. Perfect. So once you've done that, your foot's going to feel great. It's going to feel nice and stretched out. It's going to feel well activated. Now this one is the most important one. This one we've all probably heard of. It's called short foot or small foot. There's been a lot of good research over the last decade or so showing that activating this muscle is really critical. But basically all we're going to do is we're going to contract a muscle that goes from this part of the foot to that part of the foot. And what it's going to do is it's going to bring the toe into what we call abduction. So basically moving the big toe that way. So if I'm looking at my hand, it's akin to basically activating the big toe that way. So from here to here, contracting like that. Now you can see when that muscle activates, it actually lifts the arch a little bit. Now I'm not contracting anything on the top of the foot, anything through the shin like that. All I'm doing is just contracting that one muscle there. And you can see no other toe is moving. It's just that muscle. So this is kind of like riding a bike. Once you learn how to ride a bike, you kind of have it. So once you learn how to activate this muscle, which is very difficult to do, it's much harder than I'm making it seem. Once you learn how to activate it, it really is pretty simple to do, and you can pretty much do it at will. But even still, pretty consistently, if not on a daily basis, you should do this. Basically, I like to do up to 10 reps and holding it for about 5 seconds. So just activating the muscle, hold that strong contraction for 5 seconds, and relax. And again, just doing like 10 reps of that. This next exercise, we'll finish it off, And again, if you did these 3 very consistently, you really should not have any troubles in the foot. So this one, basically, we're going after the 3rd layer of muscles of the foot. And basically here, this is just simple, really forceful flexion of the foot, kind of like we did with the fingers in between the toes. But we're going to use a little band here. Doesn't matter what tension, because you can always modify tension based on how much you're pulling. So it doesn't really matter what the color is or anything. So you're going to pull a little bit up like that. My toes are kind of pulled back like this. And I'm going to contract the 4 toes, 4 small toes, down into the band. And this is kind of an endurance one as well, where I'm going to go up to 20 reps. And I like to do 3 sets of 20 reps. So it's a little tedious, but man, I'll tell you, you will be able to flick right off the ground running with this. You'll totally notice a totally different kind of power coming out of your foot if you do these. So go in, again, 3 sets of 20 reps. Now you can tell how I'm weak through there, and you can kind of see my hammer toes, so you can kind of see how I wasn't able to really push down. So that's an exercise I need to do pretty consistently. Then lastly, we're going to take that same concept, but for the big toe, which is a completely different muscle. See, the big toe operates completely separate from the other ones. So again, you're going to pull the toe back, apply a little bit of tension, and now forcefully pull the big toe into the band. Now, you're really going to get good at this if you do this pretty consistently, and you will be able to isolate the big toe versus the other 4 little toes. So again, the big toe is being pulled back, and I'm forcefully contracting into the band, 20 reps, 3 sets. And that'll be it.